A wealthy woman picked up a black baby from the slums, not to save her, but to save her image. What happened next will shake you. Stay with this story, because what unfolds over the years will expose the darkest kind of betrayal and the justice that finally caught up. Meredith Langston was Atlanta's queen of luxury. A wealthy real estate broker with $1 million smile, a designer wardrobe, and a reputation built on charm and curated charity. Her followers saw a woman of grace, generosity, and inclusive values. But behind the filters was someone who didn't care about people, only power, perception, and prestige. One morning, rerouted through Vine City due to a road closure, Meredith's Escalade rolled past a row of crumbling homes. She hated this part of town, the broken sidewalks, the sagging porches, the children playing barefoot near dumpsters. It was everything she avoided in her career and her life. Then she saw her, a baby girl, no older than one, sitting alone on a stained blanket near a trash heap. Her skin was dark, her curls matted, her onesie torn. She clutched an empty bottle and stared up at Meredith with wide, unblinking eyes. Meredith froze. No mother, no stroller, no one. Her heart thudded. Her instincts screamed to drive away. But something else, something cold and calculating, whispered, this could work. She stepped out. The baby didn't cry. She just looked at Meredith, as if she already knew. And in that moment, Meredith Langston made a decision. Not out of love, not out of compassion, but out of ambition. And karma was watching. Meredith didn't waste time. Within days, she had the baby cleaned up, dressed in pastel designer onesies, and photographed in her marble kitchen. The caption read, "God led me to her. I'm honored to give this angel a new life." The post went viral. Her followers flooded the comments with praise. "You're a saint. This is what love looks like. You're changing the world." She named the baby Ariel, soft, elegant, marketable. But behind the scenes, Ariel wasn't treated like a daughter. She was treated like a prop. Meredith's assistant, Chloe, noticed it first. "She never holds the baby unless there's a camera," she whispered to a friend. "She doesn't even talk to her." Meredith hired a nanny, Mrs. Patel, to handle the day-to-day care. Ariel was fed, bathed, and dressed, but never hugged, never rocked to sleep, never told she was loved. "She's lucky to be here," Meredith would say coldly. "She should be grateful." As the months passed, Ariel's presence became a tool. Meredith used her in ads, interviews, and charity events. She was the proof of Meredith's compassion, a living accessory. But Ariel wasn't just quiet. She was watching. Even as a toddler, she sensed the coldness. She clung to Mrs. Patel, cried when Meredith entered the room, and flinched at her voice. Meredith didn't care. "She's just adjusting," she told reporters. "Trauma takes time." But it wasn't trauma Ariel was adjusting to. It was captivity. And as the cameras kept flashing and the praise kept pouring in, no one saw the cracks forming in the perfect image. Not yet. By the time Ariel turned 6, the mansion had become her world and her prison. She wasn't allowed to play outside. Her toys were porcelain dolls she couldn't touch. Her clothes were stiff, expensive, and chosen for photo ops. Meredith had her enrolled in etiquette classes, ballet lessons, and private tutoring, not to nurture her, but to mold her into a brand. "She's going to be the face of my legacy," Meredith told her business partner, Greg, during a dinner party. A success story, from slums to society. But Ariel wasn't thriving. She was shrinking. She spoke softly, walked carefully, and never asked questions. She learned quickly that Meredith's praise came only when cameras were around. Behind closed doors, she was ignored, or worse, ordered around like staff. "Clean your room. Don't touch that. Smile when guests arrive." Mrs. Patel, the nanny, tried to protect her. She snuck Ariel cookies, whispered bedtime stories, and wiped her tears when Meredith scolded her for slouching like a street kid. But Meredith noticed. "She's getting too attached," she snapped one morning. "Fire her." And just like that, Mrs. Patel was gone. Ariel cried for days. Meredith didn't comfort her. Instead, she handed her a new dress and said, "We have a gala tonight. You need to look grateful." That night, Ariel stood beside Meredith in a glittering ballroom, her tiny hand clutching a purse she didn't understand. Guests smiled. Cameras flashed. Meredith beamed. But Ariel didn't smile. She looked out at the crowd, at the champagne, the laughter, the lies, and something inside her shifted. She didn't know the word for it yet, but it was the beginning of resistance. By 13, Ariel had learned the rules. Speak only when spoken to. Smile for the camera. Never ask why. Meredith had stopped pretending to be a mother. She was now a manager, cold, calculating, and cruel. Ariel wasn't allowed to call her mom. She was instructed to say ma'am in public and Meredith at home. You're not my blood, Meredith snapped once. You're my responsibility. Ariel's days were filled with rehearsed interviews, forced piano recitals, and charity events where she was paraded like a trophy. Meredith's friends praised her for saving the girl. She's so lucky, they'd say. You're giving her everything. But Ariel didn't feel lucky. She felt owned. At home, she was treated like staff. She cleaned the guest rooms, served drinks at parties, and was punished for attitude. Meredith installed cameras in the hallway. Ariel's phone was monitored. Her bedroom had no lock. One night, after scrubbing wine stains from the dining room carpet, Ariel sat on the floor and whispered to herself, I'm not a maid. I'm not a pet. She began journaling, secretly, writing down everything Meredith said, every insult, every punishment. She hid the notebook under a loose floorboard. Her only friend was Jasmine, a girl from school who noticed Ariel's quiet sadness. You never laugh, Jasmine said one day. You okay? Ariel hesitated, then whispered, I'm not allowed to be. Jasmine hugged her. It was the first hug Ariel had received in years. That night, Ariel stared at her reflection in the mirror. Her eyes weren't empty anymore. They were burning. She didn't know how. She didn't know when. But she knew one thing. She would escape. Ariel was 16 when she got her first taste of freedom. It came in the form of a school project, a community outreach initiative where students volunteered at local shelters. Meredith hated the idea. You don't need to be around those people, she snapped. You came from that. You're past it. But the school insisted. Ariel was assigned to Hope Haven, a shelter just blocks from the slum she'd been found in. The first day, she walked in with trembling hands. The scent of old wood, warm soup, and laughter filled the air. Volunteers moved with purpose. Children played. No cameras. No curated smiles. Just life. Ariel felt something she hadn't felt in years. Belonging. She met Ms. Carla, a retired teacher who ran the literacy program. You've got a quiet strength, Carla said, handing her a stack of books. Use it. Ariel began tutoring younger kids. She read stories, helped with homework, and listened. For the first time, she wasn't a prop. She was a person. At home, Meredith noticed the change. You're getting mouthy, she said one night. Don't forget who you are. But Ariel didn't flinch. She started speaking up. She asked questions. She challenged rules. Meredith tightened her grip, revoked her phone, restricted her outings, and threatened to pull her from school. You're mine, she hissed. Don't forget that. But Ariel had already remembered something far more powerful. She wasn't Meredith's. She was her own. And as she stared out her bedroom window, watching the city lights flicker in the distance, she made a silent vow. She would find her voice. And when she did, the world would hear it. It started with a question. Where am I from? Ariel asked it quietly one evening, sitting across from Meredith at the dinner table. Meredith didn't look up from her wine. From me, she said flatly. That's all you need to know. But Ariel needed more. She waited until Meredith left for a weekend retreat in Aspen. Then she crept into the study, the one room she was forbidden to enter. She opened drawers, flipped through folders, and finally found a locked box tucked behind a stack of property deeds. Inside were documents. A birth certificate, a police report, a photo, grainy, faded, of a baby wrapped in a blanket near a dumpster. Her name wasn't Ariel. It was Nia Grace Johnson. Her mother's name was Tasha Johnson, listed as missing in the report. No follow-up. No investigation. Just a note. Child found abandoned. No witnesses. Ariel's hands trembled. She wasn't adopted through love. She was taken through silence. She ran to her room, pulled out her hidden journal, and began writing. Every memory. Every insult. Every time Meredith used her for status. Every time she was treated like a servant. She cried until her chest ached. Then she made a plan. She would find her real story. She would find her voice. And she would make sure the world saw the truth, not the polished lie Meredith had built. When Meredith returned, Ariel was waiting. She didn't speak. She didn't cry. She just stared. And for the first time, Meredith felt something she hadn't felt in years. Fear. Ariel didn't wait. She began researching her birth name, Nia Grace Johnson, and found a single archived article from a local paper. Young mother missing after child found abandoned. No updates. No search. Just silence. She printed it out and tucked it into her journal. At school, she confided in Jasmine. "I think she took me illegally," Ariel whispered. "I think she used me." Jasmine's eyes widened. "You need help." Together, they visited Ms. Carla at Hope Haven. Ariel brought her journal, pages filled with dates, quotes, and photos. Ms. Carla listened, her face growing pale. "This is abuse," she said softly, "and it's time someone saw it." Ms. Carla connected Ariel with attorney Rachel Monroe, a fierce advocate for youth rights. Rachel read the journal, reviewed the documents, and leaned back in her chair. "We're going to expose her," she said, "but we'll do it right." Ariel began documenting everything. Every insult, every chore, every time Meredith used her for status. She recorded audio, took photos, built a case. At home, Meredith sensed the shift. "You're acting strange," she said one night. "Don't forget who feeds you." Ariel didn't flinch. "I haven't forgotten," she replied, "but I've remembered more." Meredith narrowed her eyes. "You're nothing without me." Ariel smiled, not with joy, but with power. "We'll see." That night, she emailed Rachel the final files. The case was ready. The evidence was airtight. And for the first time in her life, Ariel didn't feel trapped. She felt unstoppable. The invitation arrived in gold foil. Meredith was being honored at the Atlanta Women in Real Estate Gala, a night of praise, press, and prestige. She chose a sapphire gown, booked a stylist, and instructed Ariel to wear white. "You're my miracle," she said. "Smile for the cameras." But Ariel had other plans. She walked into the ballroom with quiet grace, her journal tucked inside her clutch. Jasmine and attorney Rachel Monroe waited nearby, dressed like guests but armed with truth. The speeches began. Meredith took the stage, her voice smooth, her smile rehearsed. "I believe in second chances," she said, "in lifting others up." Applause. Then Ariel stepped forward. "Excuse me," she said, voice steady. "I have something to say." The room fell silent. "I'm not a success story," she continued. "I'm a survivor. And the woman you're honoring tonight didn't save me. She used me." Gasps. Meredith froze. Ariel opened her journal and read aloud. Dates, quotes, photos. She spoke of emotional abuse, manipulation, and the truth behind her adoption. Rachel stepped forward and handed the MC a folder. Inside, legal documents, evidence, and a formal complaint. Meredith's face drained of color. "You lied," Ariel said. "To them. To me. But I'm done being your accessory." The crowd shifted. Whispers turned to outrage. Reporters scribbled. Cameras turned. Meredith tried to speak, but her voice cracked. Ariel didn't wait. She walked off the stage, head high, heart pounding. And for the first time, the world saw her not as a prop, but as a force. The headlines hit the next morning. Real estate mogul accused of exploiting adopted child for status. Court documents reveal years of emotional abuse. Atlanta's darling faces public backlash. Meredith's phone rang nonstop. Clients pulled out. Sponsors dropped her. Her face, once celebrated, was now plastered across news segments with words like manipulation, fraud, and abuse. She locked herself in her penthouse, curtains drawn, wine glass shaking in her hand. Meanwhile, Ariel, no, Nia, stood outside the courthouse with Rachel Monroe and Ms. Carla. Reporters swarmed, but she didn't flinch. "I'm not here for revenge," she said calmly. "I'm here for truth." Inside, the courtroom was packed. Meredith sat stiffly at the defendant's table, her lawyer whispering damage control. But nothing could undo the evidence. The journal, the recordings, the documents. Nia took the stand. She spoke clearly. She didn't cry. She told the story of a child raised in silence, used for image, denied love, and finally, finding her voice. The judge listened. The jury leaned in. The room held its breath. Meredith tried to interrupt. "She's lying," she snapped. "She was nothing when I found her." But that was her mistake. Because in that moment, everyone saw the truth. Not just in the evidence, but in her eyes. Cold, entitled, unrepentant. The judge banged the gavel. "We'll reconvene tomorrow for sentencing." Meredith stood, trembling, and as Nia walked past her, head high, she whispered, You didn't save me. And Meredith, the woman who built her empire on appearances, finally broke. Not with a scream, but with silence. The courtroom was silent as the judge returned. Meredith sat pale and rigid, her hands clenched, her eyes hollow. The woman who once ruled Atlanta's real estate scene now looked like a ghost of herself. The judge cleared his throat. After reviewing the evidence, testimonies, and documented abuse, this court finds Meredith Langston guilty of unlawful adoption practices, emotional abuse, and exploitation of a minor. Gasps echoed. Meredith didn't speak. She couldn't. The sentence, community service, financial restitution, and permanent removal from all child-related organizations. Her real estate license was suspended. Her reputation shattered. But the real punishment wasn't in the verdict. It was in the moment that followed. Nia stood, walked to the center of the courtroom, and turned to face Meredith. I was never yours, she said softly. You didn't raise me. You caged me. Meredith trembled. I found my voice, Nia continued. And now, the world hears me. The reporters leaned in. Cameras flashed. But Nia didn't flinch. She walked out of the courtroom into the sunlight, surrounded by people who saw her, truly saw her, for the first time. Miss Carla hugged her. Jasmine cried. Rachel smiled. And Nia? She breathed. Not like someone escaping, but like someone arriving. She later returned to Hope Haven, not as a volunteer, but as a speaker. She told her story to rooms full of children, survivors, and dreamers. You are not your pain, she said. You are your power. And somewhere, in a penthouse with drawn curtains and fading headlines, Meredith Langston sat alone, trembling, not from guilt, but from the truth. Because the girl she once picked up to build her status had become the woman who tore it all down.